The sun bore down relentlessly over the bustling market of Ile-Ife. Vendors shouted over each other's voices, claiming their goods to be the freshest. Among them was Adeola, her head held high, despite the whispers trailing her every move. She walked briskly, her basket clasped tightly in her grip. "Adeola! Adeola!" a voice called, cutting through the clamor. She turned to see Tunde, a man whose name in town was spoken quietly and always accompanied by a shake of the head. His reputation for trouble was legendary, yet here he was, speeding towards her, face flushed and eyes darting, betraying a sense of urgency that made her stomach knot. "What do you want, Tunde?" Adeola demanded, steeling herself for whatever trouble he brought. The market crowd's attention homed in on them, like hawks drawn to fresh meat. "You can deny it all you want, but we both know the truth," Tunde said, his voice a mere whisper just for her, standing too close, like he knew something she didn't. "I have no idea what you're talking about," she spat, yanking her basket to her side. "The truth doesn't need your approval to exist, Adeola," Tunde replied. His eyes held a gleam that was part mischief, part something she couldn't place. He turned and slipped back into the crowd, leaving a trail of curiosity and confusion in her wake. Back in the quiet of her home, Adeola could still feel the marketplace eyes on her. Her father, Baba, sat in the courtyard, mending a fishing net with aged, weathered hands. "How was the market, my daughter?" he asked without looking up. "Busy as always," she replied, her voice casual, though her mind churned with questions. "I met Tunde." Baba's hands paused for a fraction of a second. "Did he trouble you?" "No, just his usual nonsense, but—" She hesitated, choosing her words cautiously. "Do we owe him anything?" Baba finally met her gaze, the deep lines on his face etching into a frown. "Oh, Tunde? No, we owe him nothing," he stated firmly, but the doubt had already settled in her mind like a weight. That night, sleep eluded Adeola. Her mind replayed the day's events until the early hours. Around dawn, she found herself drawn to the old wooden chest at the foot of her bed. Something clicked inside her. A feeling, a memory, or perhaps an intuition, the kind of whisper no one wants to hear. She opened the chest and pulled out a leather-bound photo album. It was dusty, its pages yellowed with age and time. As she flipped through the pages, her eyes caught on a picture that made her breath catch. There, among faded memories and smiles, was a picture of her father, her mother, and Tunde. Not the Tunde she met at the market, but a younger version, looking more like a friend than the stranger she believed him to be. Her heartbeat quickened. How could her Baba have known Tunde? Why hadn't he ever mentioned it? Facing Baba later that morning, she held the photo with trembling hands. The kitchen smelled of freshly brewed tea, but Adeola tasted nothing but betrayal, sour on her tongue. "Baba, how could you not tell me?" she demanded, her voice barely steady. Baba looked up from his tea, confusion dawning on his face. "Tell you what, my daughter? This." She thrust the photo towards him, her voice rising. His eyes widened, a storm of emotions crossing his features. Yet all he could manage was, "I did not think it mattered." "How could you say that?" "You've always said truth is important, Baba." He shook his head slowly, his silence louder than words. The air between them was thick with unspoken words, but the silence was broken by the clatter of the metal cup tumbling from his hand. "We need to talk about this," she urged, her resolve hardening. "If this is some debt carried on from the past, we need to fix it." The determination in her own voice surprised her, even as uncertainty gnawed at the edges of her resolve. "Whatever Tunde wants, we will not give in to manipulation," Baba said. "I promise you there is more to this than you understand, Adeola." His words hung there, more of a promise than a reassurance. Before their words could settle into the silence, there was a knock at the door. It was the kind of knock that seemed to fill the entire room with its presence, urgent, demanding, and impossible to ignore. Baba and Adeola exchanged a glance, and without a word, she moved to open the door. Standing there was Alade, the town's respected elder, flanked by two other men. They looked grave, their faces stern and devoid of the usual village warmth. "Good morning, Adeola, Baba," Alade greeted, his tone lacking its usual gentleness. The room seemed to shift, a tension crackling in the air. Adeola instinctively knew whatever had brought them here was a storm she was entirely unprepared for. "We need you to come with us. There has been an accusation," Alade continued. Around her like an echo, she heard Tunde's words return. "The truth doesn't need your approval to exist." And as the realization that there was no turning away settled in, she understood everything was about to change. The atmosphere in the small room was heavy. Each breath felt like a struggle. Adeola's heart pounded as she followed Baba and the elders through the narrow streets of Ile-Ife, the whispers of neighbors echoing behind them like ghosts, pulling on her resolve. "An accusation?" she asked, her voice layered with a mix of fear and defiance. "What is this about, Alade?" pressed Baba, matching his daughter's defiance despite the tremor in his voice. Alade didn't answer immediately. His silence dragged on, an unseen rope tightening around Adeola's chest. "Tunde has brought matters from the past to the attention of the council. It concerns a debt, unpaid." "The debt?" Adeola's question flew out before she could stop it, eyes darting between Baba and Alade. The puzzle pieces tumbled through her mind, trying to fit together in a silhouette she feared would ruin everything they knew. As they arrived at the town hall, the large, aged structure seemed to loom with a silent judgment over them. The room was filled with villagers, their eyes fixed on Adeola and Baba, anticipation and curiosity burning in their gazes. "What is the meaning of this, elder?" Baba's voice was strong, but Adeola could hear the edge of worry in it. Tunde's voice rose above the murmur. "Baba of Adeola owes me a truth left untold, a past discarded like ash in wind," he said, stepping forward, eyes wild with conviction. The council room started buzzing with murmurs as Adeola tried to comprehend the fallout. Tunde stood forth, confident, as if standing on the edge of a revelation only he knew the rest of. "We had a pact, your Baba and I," Tunde continued, his voice smooth yet filled with something bitter. "In his youth, he promised a favor in return for my silence." "Enough, Tunde!" Baba barked, the thunder in his voice shocking the crowd into silence. Yet even as the entire room went still, Adeola saw the crack, the pain and weariness behind her father's eyes. "But the past demands its due, Baba Adeola," Tunde said ominously. "And your silence has cost dearly." Adeola looked to Baba for answers. Her world felt like it was unraveling, tearing at the seams. The market, the walls that housed her childhood, it all seemed distant, now alien to her. "Our families were once close," Baba said at last, turning slightly to face Adeola. "A promise, long forgotten, was meant to bind our destinies. I thought it wouldn't matter anymore." A gasp rippled through the gathered crowd, whispers turning from awe to judgment. The sting of embarrassment colored Adeola's cheeks as she met Tunde's eyes, which seemed to ignite with a sense of victory. "To think honesty wouldn't matter," Tunde mocked. "That's the problem, Adeola. Some debts pay themselves in silence, eating at the roots of trust." Baba winced, as though each word pushed something sharp deeper into his soul. Adeola felt fury rise in her, a burning need to retaliate, to make justice swift and unyielding for this humiliation, the pain crossing her father's wizened face. But as abruptly as it came, the anger left, replaced by a hollow resignation. Revenge had a cost, too. It echoed in the room with the weight of unanswered prayers. Throughout the long afternoon, the sun's heat seeped away, leaving a chill in its place. The villagers dispersed, leaving Adeola and Baba to collect the pieces of their tarnished name. Neither spoke until they reached the sanctity of their home. As they sat in quiet contemplation, the door creaked open softly. It was Mama Ekayete, a neighbor known for her wisdom and her unwavering faith. She approached with the measured steps of one who carried solace and burdened truths. "Forgiveness is the sweet nectar that heals the deepest wound," she said softly, her voice like the balm over old scars, her eyes filled with earnest depth. "Mama Ekayete, how can one forgive this betrayal?" Adeola's voice cracked, the fight in her tone reduced to a whimper. "It is not for you to carry judgment, Adeola. Remember, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Let your heart seek Yahweh's peace," Mama Ekayete urged gently. Adeola felt something unpack itself within, a tiny seed of possibility that perhaps forgiveness, not vengeance, would bring the clarity she sought. Late at night, after much silence where only the crickets gave voice to the darkness, Adeola picked up the old Bible that had sat untouched at the windowsill. Pages yellowed, it fell open to a passage. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Respect what is right in the sight of all men. The words filtered through her, resting heavily upon heart wounds, soothing yet relentless in their truth. Her resolve solidified in that quiet space. Revenge would not birth the peace she so desperately craved. Morning came, bringing with it the vibrant colors of a rising dawn. Adeola sought out Tunde at the market, the site where confrontation first brewed, determined to start anew. "Tunde," she called softly, humbly as she approached him amidst the waking chatter of the merchants. The smell of fresh produce lingered as she took a deep breath. "I came to talk," she began hesitantly, the words unfamiliar. "I want to understand. Perhaps mend what is broken." Tunde's initial stance of defiance wavered, his gaze dropping as he nodded, a glint of surprise softening his hardened features. Weeks passed, and bit by bit, Adeola and Tunde uncovered truths, shared stories, and weighed the past. It wasn't easy. Pain remained, and the community shifted around them carefully. Baba humbled himself before Tunde and the council, his earlier silence now transformed into heartfelt reconciliations and amends. Each step felt like chipping away at an unyielding mountain, but in each found resolution, a shared humanity. They became beacons for how reconciliation could take root amidst the rubble of broken vows, a vivid reminder of love's capacity to heal scars once thought eternal. Adeola stood with Baba in the evening breeze, staring towards the horizon with knowing eyes. Life was not free of scars, but the welcome expanse of what could still be healed and sown lay before her. In the shadows within them both and all around, a clear light glimmered, unshaken by passing winds, a firmly planted seed of hope and redemption. Through her gaze and Baba's soft words, "We are not perfect, my daughter, but love gives us permission to start over," they glimpsed a brighter tomorrow. The legacy of their decisions would live in every act of grace from then on, their story a testament of understanding, deep as the roots of their land.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.